Dipti, there are a few images that tell you the story about how China is stunned. And as we speak, the breaking news update now coming in is that China, perhaps for the first time, you will hear China complaining that India crossed the LAC. Can you believe it? China is claiming India crossed the LAC. And I'll tell you why China is spooked and how we stunned them near the LAC. Look at this image. This is a helipad. Dipti, we looked using open source satellite imagery on how India reacted to the Chinese aggression at the LAC. Look at these pictures. I'm going to show you these pictures one by one, Deepthi. The first picture is on your screen. This is the first picture. This is the first picture. That's the base close to Tulung. And this is the base from where most of the reinforcements were rushed. This is right next to the LAC, a few kilometers from the LAC. And all of these measures have been taken by the army, by our forces, after 2020, after Galwan, after whatever's been happening at the LAC, after Demchok. And let me show you the second picture. Look at this. This is the picture of the camp extremely close to the LAC. We have these pictures that show you how our forces, and in fact, using the open source, we try to look along the LAC. And along the LAC, one thing that becomes increasingly clear is that our forces have gone all out to sort of see. This is the post. In fact, I'll just make a small correction there. The post is here. This is the post. And there are several posts, in fact, along the LAC. And this is, once again, this is the helipad. This is the helipad. And there are several posts along the line of actual control. And all of these roads that you see on the sidelines telling you about the build-up. The build-up, in fact, from the helipad to the base, from where most of the reinforcements are rushed, are telling you the story of how when the Chinese tried to provoke at the LAC, immediately reinforcements were called, reinforcements were rushed within minutes. Within minutes, these reinforcements were rushed, and that is why China had to retreat, because they did not expect India's reaction and response time. Not just that, let's show you some more pictures, full screen of how India has gone all out. In fact, today some politicians are trying to sort of give lectures on how the deployment was not good enough near the line of actual control. Some political parties, including in parliament, there was a motion moved by some Congress leaders, some opposition parties, saying that there's not enough deployment. That's one of the things you're hearing, that there is not enough deployment. Look at your screen right now. That's close to the LAC. There are multiple posts near Tulung. Not one, not two, several posts, including a helipad and a base camp as well. And that is why India responded, because we were alert. We responded, and we called for reinforcements, and the reinforcements were rushed in time. And that response time has completely stunned the Chinese into a point where the Chinese are today claiming that India crossed over to the LAC, and that's why they were provoked. Can you believe it? All these years, and the same opposition parties claim that China invaded, China sitting on our territory. But the truth is, it is the Chinese that are on the back foot. There are more images. I want to play out all those images one after the other on your screen right now. Look at these images. Right? Multiple posts, Dipti, not one or two, multiple posts near Tulung. One, that's two. And this is extremely, and the two posts and the helipad and the camp and the road construction, the most important aspect is how the army has been consolidating its infrastructure along the line of actual control. Look at that. I mean, the road construction is something that is so stark. Even when you look at the maps, the open source satellite images, we've bolstered, and the entire approach has changed. And most experts will tell you that this is the approach that has sort of caught China completely on the back foot. They didn't expect the response time. They didn't expect us to respond. They came armed with barbed wire clubs. They came armed with sticks, and they called for reinforcements. And when it was a face-to-face, hand-to-hand sort of a brawl situation, the number of Indian Army soldiers who turned up there and the response time was one of the reasons why we pushed them back, and not 1 inch was ceded. And if you look at the Chinese response that's now coming in, China's complaining that India crossed over to the LAC, and that's the kind of response that you're seeing. They're completely on the back foot. The Defense Minister Rajnath Singh today, the first sentence that he started off his statement in Parliament today was, he said there was an attempt to change the status quo, and that is something that is coming across in the response of the Chinese extremely on the back foot, sounding extremely nervous. The first response that came in is that the situation is stable. They're looking at the kind of reporting that's happening in India as we put out more facts, and they're on the back foot saying that India provoked and India crossed over the LAC. Deepti, back to you for now. These are some of the images that we had. Wanted to show you those images from open source satellite imagery that we've sort of pulled out. This is the location where the Chinese troops tried to enter and try to gain control of the 17,000-foot peak close to Tulung base. Back to you for now.
Yes, I think it's a very important detail that Niranjan, you've got for our viewers, and we can only hope that the opposition actually is watching Republic right now and they understand that this isn't just a bickering political sum game. When it comes to India, you have to fight together as a country.
I don't think one of the biggest points that is coming through. I'm going through these images one by one, Deepti. Look at this. This is the helipad. This is the camp, very close to the helipad. This is a camp close to Tulungla. The first image, the camp is extremely close. In fact, in single-digit distance from the LAC, which means the moment the Chinese came in contact with the LAC, after that contact was made, after we tried to stop them, immediately from this camp, reinforcements were rushed. And that graphic is on your screen. This is the satellite imagery. Republic has accessed open source satellite imagery. This one shows that the base camp was extremely close, which is point number one. We reacted immediately. We immediately rushed reinforcements. That's point number one. That's the big one. And secondly, look at the helipad, right? If you look at the helipad, Deepti, let me show you the helipad. These are the posts, by the way, on my screen. These are the posts on the screen right now. I'll show you the helipad, but there are multiple posts. There is a camp, there is a helipad, and there's infrastructure build-up in that area where this reported face-off took place. So I'm repeating once again. The Congress party and some of these parties have been going on and on claiming that there was not adequate deployment on the ground, but in reality, when you look at the open source imagery, that completely tells you a different story. Not just the roads. Look at the roads, posts, and there's a helipad as well. On your screen, I'll show you the graphic of that helipad. The graphic of that helipad, which is very, very clear. Look at that. That's the helipad. That's increased deployment with multiple roads and connectivity to the helipad near the LAC. I repeat, there's connectivity to the helipad extremely close to the LAC. And this is open satellite imagery that's available, from close to Tulungla. That is close to the area where China tried to gain access to the 17,000-foot peak. Deepti. Not just that, let's show you the other pictures, right? And that's, yeah, here it is. Look at this. This is the helipad and the road connectivity, right? And all of this is going alongside the line of actual control. And it is extremely clear that the approach of the forces has changed completely after Galwan, completely. And we've been looking at pictures. In fact, Republic also reported from Tawang a few months back when we told you that anti-aircraft guns and increased infrastructure buildup was all part of the army's game plan, and that has been put into action. In fact, all of what I'm showing you from our sources, we picked up that the approach has changed. The road construction, for example, look at the road construction, right? All of these, you're looking at these markings, right, Deepti? These markings are nothing but roads. These are roads as seen from a satellite image. These are roads, Deepti. Look at this. These are all roads from the helipad to Tawang, to mainland Tawang, to the different posts, to the corners of the LAC, because of which we were able to respond in record time. And that is why the Chinese are really stumped. I don't think they expected that response time, and that's what we're picking up from our reporters and from all the sources we are in touch with, and there are multiple posts. Once again, look at this. This is one picture that gives you the full story. In one picture, you can see the map. That's a helipad. That's a post. There's a second post, and then here there is a camp. All of this in one picture, and look at the road connectivity, Deepti. Look at the road connectivity, and all of this is infrastructure that we've been building up. And then you have people telling you and people write letters and say there is no adequate deployment at the line of actual control. Dipti, I want to tell you that we've done some research, and this is open source. I mean, anybody with just adequate knowledge of how to do research using satellite imagery will tell you that this is available on the internet. And if you look at it along the line of control, we have it covered. Our forces have it covered. And I'm tossing it back to you for now, Deepthi, but just wanted to show you these pictures that we've been able to access. And I think you can take this forward with our team and including experts like Major Gaurav Arya in the studio. Back to you for now.
Yes, Niranjan, thank you. I think it's very, very important to put that story into perspective, and that's exactly where this satellite imagery that Niranjan has brought forward, remember viewers, really helps, because the Indian officials have said that China's People Liberation Army could have attempted actually to seize the Yangtze post in the hopes that the Indian Army presence there in the area would be thin, particularly at this time when the area, remember, is snowbound. And this is a fact that till about 2015, you had the Indian Army that would patrol this area. But in the last few years, we've started staying on at the post even in the harshest of winters.